this 2019 Honda Civic Sport, I need to remove the radio. I'm adding an amp and a subwoofer to this car. She wants to keep the factory radio, so I need to get in there and put a line output converter, which is this here. This is the Scosche brand. So since I'm only adding a subwoofer amp, I'm only doing a 2-channel, so it's the 2-channel version. So it's LSC2SL. This one has the line output converter and a bass knob. Anyway, to get the infotainment center out, these have to come off. And those just pop off. There it goes. The clips don't come straight up. They actually come out at a slight angle. Then you got to get this one off, which comes straight out, but you don't want to pry on the infotainment screen or you could damage it. So that's all you do right there. As you can see, these clips are at a slight angle, so technically the whole thing needs to pull that way. There we go. There it goes. Your climate control has to come out, and it's just on clips as well. Looks like it just pops out. I'm going to go ahead and unplug it. Just remember that there's 2 plugs on here. Looks like you have 2 8mm bolts. Now to pull this out, it just pulls straight forward, but you don't pull from the top because that's actually just the screen and you could crack it. So if you grab it right here, it's got clips up here that have to come out. Then the radio can be pulled straight out. It's a squeeze clip. That's why. I'm gonna grab me a pair of needle nose. It's alright, it's hard to see what I'm doing, but I'll show you when I get it out. Alright, that actually allows me to get this out a lot further. But what I did, I had to take this off the bottom bracket, and as you can see, it's got 2 squeeze clips on either side. You just have to squeeze those together and then it slides straight out. Instructions for the line output converter: your white and black, that's your left speaker. Your gray and black, that's your right speaker. It has a yellow wire which says goes to battery positive, so that is constant source. Ground is the black wire, and then your blue and white going to be your amp turn on that goes back to the amplifier. I did find a wiring diagram for this car because I was unfamiliar with it. I just looked it up online. Ground is 1, which in this plug is this bottom one here and the top one there. 3 is constant power source. I need to split this insulation a little bit. Just be very careful doing this because you don't want to cut any of those wires. Or what we're going to need, the browns, those are your 12 volt. Your black is your ground. You've got left rear, right rear, and those are what we need. So I'm going to come back into the wire loom a little bit and just strip a little bit of insulation. As you're going to take and you're going to wrap it here, and then you're going to pinch this down. You're going to take you a wire tie, give yourself enough room. you go. Let's heat that sucker down. I'm going to put a wire tie around it here. And then the extra, I'm just going to kind of fold back and just let it hang there. I'm going to put another wire tie right there. I still have the 2 RCAs and that to hook up, which is next. This is the kit that they provided for me. It's called SCAR 4 ANL CCA copper clad aluminum. Not my choice, I prefer pure copper, but it's hard to find that now, and if you do find it, it's expensive. Most everything is now copper clad aluminum. It does have a nice ANL fuse in it. I do like that. Whether this is a true 4 gauge or not, we're gonna find out. Let me get this opened up and we'll go from there. It does come with an ANL blade type fuse. It comes with a few little install goodies, grommet, some eyelets or ring terminals, some boot covers, all that kind of stuff. The RCA seem to be, they're okay. They don't seem real super heavy duty, but it does come with a remote turn on, which is nice. Now your power wire, which is your 4 gauge, which is not a true 4 gauge. If you look at it, I don't know if you can focus in on that or not. This would be a really good 8 gauge in a good brand. You know, Stinger, Rockford, you know, Tsunami, SoundQuest, all that. Or at least those are the brands I grew up with, so I haven't really messed with them in a while. It's not super flexible. Yeah, it's just not great wire. I mean, good thing I'm not running, you know, a 1500 watt amplifier or anything. I'm only running like a little 900 watt amp, so this ought to be good for it. And it comes with the ground wire with it too. You need to run the RCAs from behind the radio to be able to plug into our line output converter. Behind the dash or down under the carpet, whatever's easiest. I know sometimes with airbags and stuff it's easier just to run it back behind the carpet. Down all the sill plates to the back of the car. And we're going to work on that right now. As you can see, I took the amp turn on and I just taped it every 10 inches, 12 inches or so all the way down. One thing you do want to make sure is you don't route these cables anywhere that there's moving parts. What I'm going to do is take the zip tie and then find an area where it goes down, comes out of the bottom of the console here, and right there. Ta-da! So then what I do is I will take my end, take some tape. So I'm going to take it, put it here, run me a little bit of tape around it. You don't need a whole lot, and just let that fold back on itself and you're good. Then you just pull it, feed it up through here, and voila, you have your cables. I'm going to connect the amp turn on. Put me a zip tie on that, and also never zip tie over a solder connection. Go before or after it, but not on it. So, but for now, just to keep things out of the way, that's what we're going to do, and that's where it'll sit. This is where the RCAs come out. The way that Hondas are designing, you'll have to figure this out on your own vehicle. If you pull the carpet back a little bit, kind of hard to see because of the lighting. Let me see if I can. There's a shelf right here. And this is where I'm gonna take and kind of just tuck this RCA back inside that shelf. I need to pull this sill plate here off. You just work your way down. Pull the weather seal up here and just get it out of the way. Then you're going to take the kick panel off here, which pops out that way on this car. Make sure that there's no screws or anything that you're pulling against. Kind of tight and being a little stubborn. Like so, just those two clips. But there's this shelf that I was talking about up here. So I'm just going to kind of run it down, and then that keeps it out of the way of people's feet. You're not going to step on it, anything like that. This will tuck down and follow the existing wire loom. I'm going to unhook the carpet right here. And one thing you want to make sure you stay away from sharp edges or anything like that. If you do have to run it past a piece of metal that's sharp, you want to make sure you protect your cable, because the one thing that's not fun is trying to diagnose an intermittent signal issue in your RCA. Now, back here, it's your B-pillar, and it usually has your seat belt and things like that in it. I'm going to pull this sill panel off back there. I decided to show you this because in order to get this panel out, which is right here, it goes up underneath the seat. I'm going to have to pull the seat out. The way the seats come out in these things, if you lift up right here, there's a little white clip right there. That little white clip has to squeeze to pull it toward the front of the car, and then this pops up. So you got to do it on both sides. Honda is known for putting one bolt inside of the seat, but it's right there. You take that out, and then the seat will come out. So let me take care of that. I didn't mention it before, but that bolt, I did get the seat out. The bolt is a 10mm bolt. As an installer, I have a rule: any money found under the seats is fair game. Owner didn't know it was there, so I will get it. I call it a tip. This panel here is the one that needs to come out, and basically it comes out the same way as the other one did. There's a clip here. Actually, there's nothing there. There's a clip there, and there's probably a couple of clips under here as well. So you just pop, and again, that comes out. You pull that bolt there out. It's a 14mm. Now, the B-pillar molding ought to come out. And that'll hold that down. I've got the, yeah, almost lost a tool. Good thing I looked. Got the RCAs run down past here. They're coming up here. There's a 10mm bolt right here. Then we're going to pull the leather strip out. This panel is separated, and it just pops straight out. So you pop it this way, you get back here, pop it this way, and then the whole panel just comes out. I want to mount the amp on the bottom side of the package tray here, bottom side of this, up underneath here. So I need to get the RCA to run up over there, but I'm also going to have to take this out, which means I have to do the other side as well. This panel does have to come out to get this deck lid off, and that's this one here with that funky clip, but I'll show you how I did it, and I'll show you on the other side. Take a non-marring pry tool and get in here and pop, and go down the line. You pop the regular clips, and then once you get it loose, just pull this forward and it'll come out. What it'll do, You can see the back of them are just regular clips. This one, you just make it where it slides out and just leave it into place for now. Like I said, this clip will break if you try to pry it out. That had to come out because the back deck has all of those hooks that hook into that side panel. We'll see if I can show you how I did this one. Take my non-marring pry tool, I'll go into here and just pry a little bit, and then that pops. Once that pops, you take and you just pop that straight down. Gotta take that off. There's a little hook here you gotta undo right there. Now that green clip is about right here, like so, and then it comes out. We are going to try to take this rear deck out now, like so. Let's go in the trunk and unplug all the wiring. Now that the wiring's unplugged, that's self-explanatory. You can look up under there and see where the wiring goes up behind the deck. The wiring is for the two tweeters back here and the third brake light. Right there, and I'll wire tie it to that to keep it off the metal. That's how it's gonna run. I run RCAs down one side and I run power down the other. That eliminates possibility of alternator whine, or what's known as engine noise. That high-pitched squeal you get when you accelerate and you can hear it through the speakers. Good grounding is key to that as well. But keeping your power and your signal or your RCA separate will also help. Not so noticeable on a subwoofer, but good practice to get no matter what you do. Now I'm going to start running the power wire on the other side. We'll see under the hood. But I need to hook up the fuse holder. What I'm going to wind up doing is going right behind the brake reservoir up on the firewall. I got the battery out. The reason I had to take the battery out is so I could go through right here. Now I could poke a hole and just go through the factory grommet. I don't like doing that. I use the little grommet that comes with the kit as just a little push-in grommet, and you just drill a hole out to that size. You snap it into place, and then you put the wire through it. You got some wire loom that goes around it that kind of seals that off. If you have some strip caulk or something that you can put around this, that's even better. The wire, it's quite a bit smaller than this grommet, but when you have wire loom on there, it usually fits pretty good. So what I need to do is verify on the other side of the firewall that there's nothing in the way. What we've got here is, if I move this piece of insulation, this jute carpet here, pull it out of the way, right here's the grommet that comes through factory. Here's that flat panel, little triangle right here. So that's where I'm going to drill the hole. Once you get through, go out to the other side and make sure that you're not in the way of anything. Perfect, right where it needs to be. So one thing about drilling through firewalls, make sure you know what's on the other side. I have seen people drill into brake boosters, electrical wiring, cables, you name it. I even heard about one car, I don't remember what kind of car it was, it's a luxury car, that the firewall was double layered, and in between the two layers it had sand, and that was for sound deadening. Somebody drilled a hole in the firewall to run a wire through and let all the sand out. That was a very expensive mistake. I didn't do that. I don't know who did it. I just heard about it. Might be an urban legend, who knows. Okay, back in the engine bay here. There's where the grommet is, right there. Let's get this to go through. Right there. See if I can get y'all any light at all. Sorry about the lighting. I know it's not ideal. Yeah, like I said, this is gonna wire tie right there out of the way. This will fold back around up to here. So, pushes through that grommet really good. This battery tray had to come out. It's got a little clip on here that just kind of goes into that little groove and then pulls forward, and it locks the back half down into place. I've got the battery and everything back in. This is the positive battery cover. Doesn't leave a whole lot of room to be able to mount this and keep this cover, but I want to try to keep it. So I'm going to modify it. All of this right here I need to cut out to make room here and then exit there. All right, wish me luck. Hope I don't lose a finger. That's the majority of the hogging out for it. Let me get some sandpaper and see if I can clean this up. I think I've just about got it. I wound up just using a sanding drum, kind of clean this up some. When that closes, hopefully the wire will be able to run through here and out this side. Now I'm just going to run the power wire all the way to the back like we did the RCAs, but I'm doing it on this side of the vehicle. This is the reason I chose the passenger side for the RCAs and the driver's side for the power. It's because the battery was on the driver's side of the vehicle. I've got all the wires run, all the RCAs. They're run up, around, down. It follows the wire loom, comes down into the trunk here. Same with the power wire over here. Next thing I need to do is figure out how I'm going to put a ground for the amplifier. Power comes on this side, I want my ground on this side. There's a hole here. It's double thick metal. It's also attached to the brace that's underneath here. So what I'm going to do is put a bolt through here, put a nut on the other side and tighten it up, and then I have another nut that I can use. Basically I'm turning this into a stud so I have a place to put a ground. But what I've got to do before I can do that is make sure that there's no paint on the ground. So I got my Dremel out with a little wire wheel on it, and I'm going to file away at this paint here and on the other side of it so I can make sure I get a good ground. Got the bottom one all taken care of. I'm going to mount the amp on the other side of where the subwoofer would normally go. I did get a board and I cut it out that fits the amplifier. I'm going to drill 4 holes and bolt this up from the underside, and then the amp can mount to that upside down. Don't tell the wife I'm using her vacuum. Since I have a hole right in the middle, I'm going to make a mark in the middle of my board and then make it appear in that hole, and then at least I know it's centered this way and this way, and I just have to make sure it's square. Got all my holes drilled. Let's see if they line up. Looks like it. Close enough anyway. I'm gonna go wrap this in some trunk liner so I can get it bolted up. I'm ready to go. my panel here. I've got my 4 nuts and bolts and washers. I went ahead and poked holes so those just go right through. Before we tighten that down, let's take a look at it from underneath. I will tighten those down and then I can put everything back together. There is one last thing I've got to do before I can put this thing back together. I've got to run wire for my subwoofer that we're putting in this car. Here's my speaker wire right here. It's 12 gauge. Now this is NVX wire. This is actually pretty good wire. I really like this company. I buy it on Amazon, but I really like it. What I'm going to do is it's going to go down through this hole, and yes, it will be wire loomed before it's all done. Since the subwoofer is going in this back far corner, I got to run the speaker wire down and then go back into there. Looks like right there, right behind the other side of this, there's a hole that goes back down into this panel, which is what I need. We're gonna mount the amp, and this is gonna be tricky. I have to have help from my lovely assistant.
You place it, I'll hold it.
Those are words I've always wanted to hear. It's the little things. I think that'll work right there. I gotta get a spacer under here. Alright, you can let go. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome, honey.
I'm gonna hook up my power and ground on this side right now. So it's gonna go there. And then my ground is gonna go here, go up in there, and then come back here to my stud. A washer, a nut, all right, she's grounded. All right, let's do this side. I've got the amp installed, tuned, and ready to test. Yeah, I know the microphone on my camera does not reproduce the bass accurately and it sounds distorted, but let me assure you, this thing sounds amazing.